Major League Baseball used to be, I'm going to call it a veteran's game, if you will, an old man's game, that you had to pay your dues in the minor leagues and grind it out until you were 24, 25, 26 years old before you got to the big leagues, because the older established guys were keeping the jobs. Well, that paradigm has shifted that I can see in the big leagues, and it's a young man's game now. They're bringing young players into the league much sooner than they used to. They're capable. They're performing well, and we used to know all the names, right? You could, if you picked a roster, you could pretty much name everybody that was important or starter on a team. Now,
and we could do all the stances too, man. I mean,
that's right. That's right. And the pitching windups, right? Whatever it was, we could emulate. But that's different now because the players are younger.
Good to start. All right. What's up, DSA family? It's Johnny Five with Davis Sports Academy, and welcome to another edition of our podcast. We are super excited to be back. Have a lot of great things to talk about today. With me, as always, my co-host, the Guru Bill Davis, and Mr. Mariner Alvin Davis. This is the Stay Ready podcast, your one-stop shop for everything baseball and softball. Today's episode, we will be talking about how things are going with us here at DSA. Our team growth, our baseball, our softball. We've been having a lot of great things going on right now. So we'll get Bill's perspective on that. And then we have a few current events that we'd love to talk about. One very special person we're going to be able to break down and talk about is one of our DSA trainers, Greg Vaughn Jr., and we'll get into that. So here we are today on our first new episode in our new place. And let's welcome the Guru, Mr. Bill Davis. And we will go ahead and talk about DSA and how things are going with us here at DSA.
Thanks, Jonathan.
My
Good
pleasure.
Morning to you. Good morning to our audience. We have some really good things going on at DSA right now. I'm excited about our progress. The pandemic kind of gave us a setback in the beginning, in the spring, but we've been able to bounce back from that, and we've formed our club program, our baseball and softball club programs, which currently we're right around a total of 50 kids between the two programs, girls and boys, age groups. With the girls are 12 under and 10 and under. With the boys, we have a high school division. We have 14 and unders, 12 unders, and then 10U. So we're real excited about that. We're holding weekly workouts, a couple days a week. We're working out at the facility, starting to get onto the field now to do some conditioning and keep our kids working and preparing them for play.
Mm-hmm. That's been pretty tough with having to get all these regulations going too. We're super excited about that, and I'd love to bring on Alex, which she is our softball girl, and she runs the production of our softball program, and that's going actually really well too. How do you feel about our softball program going on? I know you're more involved in the baseball, but from the outside perspective, we do get to see our girls being at different age levels, coming from all kinds of different areas. What are your thoughts on how our girls are doing so far, like coming together as a group and just building that family atmosphere with each other?
Again, as I said, I'm excited about both programs. The softball program, I really appreciate the work ethic of the girls that are involved in the program to date. They come and work hard. They're enthusiastic about being a part of our program. And I'm seeing a lot of progress in skills development. We've been able to practice now at the facility for about a month. It's been about a month now, maybe a month and a half.
Yep.
And I'm seeing progress with each of the individual girls. There's different skill levels within the group. Some are a little further along, advanced in their skills than others. But those that are starting out just really learning basic skills are really making progress.
Mm-hmm.
So our work is taking fruit, and we'll just continue on and continue to get better.
Absolutely. I agree. I think I kind of have the same perspective. There's a lot of girls that, when they first started out with us or with you, about a month, 2 months ago or so, came in, barely knew how to even play the game at all. And now I get to see the stuff that they've come along, just how far they've come along. Girls, one in particular, Aubrey, she's an awesome little ball player. She's come a long, long, long way. And I'm super proud of her. That's just one that I get to see, that I get to come in and notice. And I think she's going to be an amazing athlete when the time comes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be super awesome.
She's a great example of what our skills development program is all about.
Sure.
Her progress, and one of the things that we preach consistently is the value of hard work and what it can do. And she has the commitment of her parents to get her to where she needs to be, to the facility. They schedule her lessons. She's getting a ton of extra work outside the team workouts. She's getting a ton of individual work. And that's the key to any player's skill development and accelerating their development is extra work.
Yeah, let's. What do you mean by extra work? Most of our girls and boys, for you guys that are listening, you guys come in, and one thing we really hit hard on is making sure they take advantage of the opportunities they have with us, because being a part of our team, it does come with certain opportunities that you do get. So when it comes to extra work, what do you mean by that for our listeners? What can they do while they're at home, or whatever the case may be?
It's pretty simple. I started out calling it homework. I've transitioned that phrase to extra work, and basically what we're talking about is taking those drills and working on them on your own at home, putting in time every day. And one of the things that I preach to kids is I always give them, I try to identify where their weaknesses are with a particular skill.
Okay.
And then I give them drills to work on at home to try to advance that skill. So that extra work means that you go home and you spend 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day working specifically on that drill, getting comfortable with a swing movement, as an example, getting comfortable with your throwing mechanics and the rhythm that it takes to throw properly. All of those things can be practiced at home. And again, if you want to advance quickly with your skills development, extra work is an absolute must. There's no way around it. One of the hashtags that we use is hard work pays off.
Yep.
Well, this is exactly an example of what we're talking about. You're not going to get better spending 30 minutes or an hour a week with a private instructor. You have to take what you worked on during those sessions, take them home with you, and continue that work so that when you come back the next time, you're a little bit better. You're a little more comfortable with the movement, with the swing movement.
Sure.
How your body moves, it's all by feel. Athletes have to gain a feel for what it's like to move properly in a skill, move your body properly in a skill. There's only one way to do that. It's through the extra work, through the hard work, developing the muscle memory that's required so that you can accomplish a skill movement without even thinking about it. It just comes automatically, becomes a natural part of who you are as an athlete.
Yeah, and we'll show later on here in the episode, we'll show an example of what that looks like when putting in the hard work at home and doing things like that. But let's talk a little bit about how important it is to have a relaxed when you're at home, the environment that you're in. One thing that our environment that we've created within our within our facility. We always talk about being in a relaxed environment, a place where you don't have to feel, pressured or things like that. And, how important is that to have in your surroundings as the athlete? So this is more kind of directed towards our parents listening. So whenever, you're at home, how your athlete, their surroundings, their atmosphere, the atmosphere that you bring them is super important. Talk a little bit about kind of our atmosphere at DSA and what they should expect at home, and kind of how parents could help their athletes do that.
Well, focus is essential. You need to be away from distractions so that you can focus mentally on the work that you're doing.
Okay.
And within the facility, sometimes it gets pretty busy.
Sure.
We'll have more than one training going on at the same time. Young people, kids, tend to get distracted by what's going on in the next tunnel to them. And so we're in a constant mode of bringing them back to their focus and what they're working on. At home, that's the number one thing that I would advise to parents. Put them in an environment, try to create a situation at home where they're devoid of distraction, where for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they can spend time getting in quality work and not have to answer questions from little brother or the TV's on. There's some other type of activity going on within the same space that they're in. I talk to kids a lot about getting in front of a mirror and watching themselves and how they're moving and in an attempt to try to get it right, so that when they see themselves doing a particular skill correctly, they can start to gain that feel that we talked about of what it's like, what it feels like when I'm getting it right, and then work to repeat it.
Sure.
Repeat. Those reps, that repetition is what builds the muscle memory that's necessary to get good at something.
Right. So what I'm gathering from that is the quality of the reps. So when it's not a lot of people always think hard work is one thing you're saying is we got to work hard. That's 100% the truth. But the type of hard work, the quality of the hard work when you're focused, even just 5 to 10 minutes when you're at home and you're in the mirror focused for that 10 minutes, and maybe you only do 5 swings instead of 20 or 100, but the quality of those 5 swings will bring that muscle memory to what it needs to be. And then once you build that, you start taking hundreds of reps to the right quality, because you can take the 100 reps of the wrong type of swing or the wrong way to ground a ball or whatever the case is. So one thing I gathered from that also is just the type of quality of reps that we have to bring to the table too. So those are things too that parents can pay attention to. And the good thing is too is something that I feel is really important for us here at DSA is making sure the parents are involved with what we're doing so they can see the type of training, so that way whenever they do go home, they are able to kind of know what we're talking about and be on the same page and make sure they're putting in quality reps instead of just 100 of unquality reps.
It's essential for parents to know the whys, the what and the why.
Sure.
For a particular drill that they're working on, and then what it looks like when it's being done correctly. Quality is much more important than quantity for the very reason that you spoke to. If I'm doing a movement incorrectly over and over and over again, I'm building bad muscle memory. I'm training my body to do something the wrong way. 5-10 minutes, once you get the feel for it and you're satisfied and you can see I'm getting this right, I know what it feels like when I'm getting it right, is really all you need. If you do it every day.
Sure.
You do it every day, 5-10 minutes, whatever number of reps you can get, but take your time with it. make sure that you're moving properly, that you're in rhythm and doing things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
At the point that you get that feel, then you can increase the number of reps. I always tell the kids, don't go past the point with your reps where you start to tire and fatigue, because once we get tired, our body gets fatigued, then it starts to not move properly. We start to compensate in a negative way.
Right.
Compensate for trying to get the movement accomplished, and now we're back to that building bad muscle memory paradigm that we don't want to be in.
Sure.
So, number of reps is important. I try to give them a specific number of sets to accomplish, and then whatever time it takes them to accomplish those sets, that's appropriate. But it's all about feel. It's all about trying to build that muscle memory. So focus on that. Focus on getting it right. Once you get the feel for doing it right, and you have feedback from your instructors that you're getting it right, practice that. Keep that going. Baseball is unique in the respect that with hitting is something that you want to try to do every day if you can.
Absolutely.
And so when we're talking about working at home, if you have a net that you can hit into, a tee, those are essential tools to have at home
Wiffle
to
balls.
be able to get quality reps. Yes, you don't need to hit hard balls. You just need a soft object that you can hit that
hand-eye coordination.
That provides you the example. A ball on a tee doesn't have to be a baseball. It can be a tennis ball. It can be a wiffle ball. You want to make sure that you're getting those good swings.
Absolutely. I remember when I was in high school, we had the little wiffle balls and the machine that would just spit them out. And then we had a little bat, it was a long metal bat. It's kind of heavy. Had a little pad on the end of it. It was black, and it had a pad that was this long, about that thick, and it was just on like where you hit the ball in the barrel, and then we would hit that, and we'd just sit out in the backyard and just tank. It was the funnest thing. What's cool about stuff like that is I feel like kids are a little maybe less creative nowadays with things like that. You could go out and make it fun with your friends and get better while having a competition of I can hit farther than you. No, you can't. I can hit more balls than you can, or whatever the case is. Little things like that, guys, like especially for our boys and girls who are listening, those are things that when we're talking to you guys in the facility and we're saying, hey, things to do at home, just certain little small things like that is going to make you a better player and a better athlete, and it's going to make you just more aware, more prepared, more ready to go. And that's one of our things, is to stay ready. And that's one of the things that can help you stay ready when you come, and it'll show. And those are extra work, things that you can put in for extra work, and they don't have to make it work. I know the word of work doesn't always sound good to a lot of people, because a lot of people don't like to work. They want to make it fun. So make it fun with your guys' self. And that's one thing that we preach all the time in the facility, is make sure they're having fun, because you can come in there and get all the work in the world, and if you're not having fun, it's really defeating the purpose of everything what you're doing, because the whole point is to grow into something. And whatever the case may be, wherever it leads you, the whole point is to grow and have fun with it, and let it lead you to wherever you want to go. So some important things in there, two things you said was why we do things and what it looks like. I think that'd be a really awesome thing to talk about, is our why we do things. And then we can show what it looks like with one of the next opportunities that we have here in the segment with one of our DSA trainers. So let's talk about our why we do things at DSA, why we train the way we do, why your philosophies are the way they are.
Well, my why in my discussion, I'm talking about a specific drill to build a skill, and why. So the why is we want to build a flat bat path, for instance, right? Or not necessarily flat, but a bat path that puts you on a plane with a pitch. So if you have a bad swing, your swing plane, maybe you're chopping down on everything, and we need to correct your bat path, we're going to give you a drill that helps you accomplish that. So we show you what it looks like, what the drill looks like, what a correct swing path looks like. And then you go home and practice, right? We practice it with you to try to help you develop at least the foundation of feel. And then you take that home and you work on it on your own.
Okay.
It really doesn't do any good to just teach somebody to do something without giving them the reason for why it's important.
Sure.
And what you're going to gain, what's to be gained out of the work that you do.
Gotcha.
So we talk about those things. And then at the end of the day, I talk to kids about this all the time. When we're talking about hitting or pitching or any skill on the field, you're by yourself. If you're hitting and you're in an important situation, a crucial situation, you don't get to tag team and ask for help.
Right.
You're up there on your own, by yourself, trying to get the job done.
Right.
You need to understand what it is you're doing and why you're doing it so that you can make adjustments. If you take a bad swing, you need to be able to feel that it was a bad swing, step out of the box for just a second or two, go through the movement so that you get that feel back for what it's like when I'm doing it properly, then step back in the box and go back to work. If you don't have that understanding, you really don't have a chance to make corrections. You can't make adjustments. You lower your chances for success.
Sure. So you're making my mind race. I'm not sure about everybody else, but it's really, this game it's a smart game. It's an intelligent game, and there's always different whys in every certain situation that we're in. So what I'm gathering is that you're talking about the why of certain details of why we're doing things. And I think that's important because then it leads to other things of being a smarter athlete or a smarter baseball player on the base path to understanding why you're going to bunt in this situation, or why you're going to have a hit and run in this situation, or why you're going to have to swing at a ball over here, or whatever the case is. So I think that's really awesome. Our why, what I feel like is the reason why we do this. I love how you get into the details, is one thing you always say. It's in the details. And so one thing I feel like our why is to obviously teach them these things, but get them to the next level. College, our goal is to get these guys through high school, train them to be the best high school athletes they can, get to college, get a college education, and hopefully move on to the next level of whatever that looks like for them. So let's kind of dive into what we have. We actually, I spoke a little bit about one of our trainers here at DSA. His name's Greg Vaughn Jr. He's actually out playing right now in Detroit, right? Detroit, in the USPBL league.
Yes.
USPBL league. And he plays for the what they're called, the Hoppers. What is their first name?
It's the Eastside Diamond Hoppers.
Eastside Diamond Hoppers.
And it's the United Shores Professional Baseball League.
Okay.
And it's an independent ball league focused on athletic development. So they're measuring performance, providing players with data feedback on how they're doing. And then if they're professional organizations, MLB organizations that have an interest in a player, they can scout them, they can watch them perform, and then they have performance feedback data to review and help make decisions on whether a player is ready for a formal contract and a job in a major league organization.
Sweet. So there's definitely opportunity in this league then.
Oh yes, that's the focus of it.
Cool.
That's the focus of it.
Well, that's good to know, because you were talking about hitting. We're talking about why we're hitting. One of our trainers is out there now playing. We do have a video of one of it. They're actually in the playoff run right now. They're doing so. Everything right now they do is crucial. Every at bat that they have is crucial. And again, this ties into why we're doing things right. And let's go ahead and pull up his video. And we have a really great at bat. This at bat was an awesome at bat and a crucial time in the game. There was a couple outs, and we'll kind of break down the at bat here. And Bill, I'd love to get your perspective on everything and kind of break down the ideas, and we'll kind of go through that. So. Who we have here, the Hoppers playing the Mammoths. We're in the top of the third inning. Greg Vaughn Jr. is up to bat. And we'll go ahead and play the video here.
Greg starts this at bat. As you can see by the graphic on the screen, there's nobody on base and there's 2 outs. One of the things that Greg is pretty known for is his knowledge of the strike zone and his patience and trying to get a good pitch. You can see there, got a pretty good pitch to hit. He was a little late with it, but he attacked, and that was an appropriate pitch. So now he's down, no balls, 2 strikes.
And this is a crucial time right here.
Yes, he's in battle mode now. He's got to protect the plate, expand the zone a little bit, try to get the barrel on anything that looks like a strike. It's a good take there. There's an unwritten pitcher's rule that if you're ahead in the count 0-2, generally you're not trying to throw a strike 0-2 because the batter's mindset is swing mode, and you don't want to just serve up something that you know he's going to hit. So they're trying to get him to chase there. They've thrown 2 balls away, breaking pitches, 1 curveball, looks like 1 slider. That second pitch looked like more like a slider, hoping that he's going to be aggressive and chase something out of the zone. There you see it. There it is again. Trying to get him to chase. That's 3 balls in a row that are out of the zone. So now he's got the count to full. And bam. Put the barrel on it. That ball got out in a hurry.
So let's talk about, just the idea and the mindset of what he's doing hitting right there. He's having to change every single pitch. He's having to make an adjustment on what he's looking for. You have to be smart on knowing your counts on what pitches may be coming, certain things like that. And one thing, it looked like he was really focused on what was going on. He had that 0-2 count. When you're down 2 strikes as a hitter, your job is to put the ball in play and not strike out. Mm-hmm. And so your emotions are flowing, things like that. And he works the count all the way down to the 3-2 count. And typically most hitters know that in that time, the pitcher doesn't want to walk you. So more than likely he's going to come with a fastball, something straight, maybe a changeup. But he, from the looks of that, it looks like he knew what he was coming and he was ready to hit.
Well, I don't know. If we talked to him personally, he might not tell you that he knew what was coming as much as he's tunneling in the strike zone. Okay. And what I mean by that, he's got his vision focused, looking for the ball in the strike zone. If it starts too low, if we could run it back to the 2-2 pitch, can we run that back?
Yep.
Is that 3-2 or 2-2? 2-2. Okay, so that pitch started low and then left the strike zone.
Go back a little bit more. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. Perfect. Yep. So it's 2-2.
So let's watch this pitch. Again, they want him to chase. They want him to swing at something out of the zone. So you can see that ball started in the strike zone and then left down and in, faded away with movement down and in. Well, Greg's tunneling in the strike zone, and he recognized that pitch wasn't going to stay a strike. Next pitch pretty much started in the same area, but he recognized it as a fastball. He's got great hand-eye coordination, great hand speed and barrel speed, and so he was able to stay and get on that ball and hit it out to right center field. And I have to say, as a hitter, that's one area that he's really been improving in and developing power to the opposite field. The whole season, he's been having hasn't had a lot of success because they've been catching the ball, but he's been hitting the ball very hard. He's got one of the highest exit velocity average in the league. And so when he puts the ball in play, he's given himself the best chance for hits.
Sure.
And that's one of the things that we talk to our hitters about constantly is hitting the ball hard, making good contact. You're not always going to get a hit, but you judge your at-bat by your contact result, not necessarily by the play result, if you will.
Yep.
You can hit a ball 100 miles an hour, but if it goes right at someone and they catch it, it's an out. You don't control, as a hitter, you don't control what happens after the ball comes off your bat.
Yep.
You control your process to get to contact. And that's what you see with Greg. That's a great example of his exercising patience at the plate, recognizing good pitches, not offering at borderline pitches, and then he was rewarded with a fastball that was pretty much center cut. And the most important thing is he put barrel to it and got a home run, hit a home run. So that's one of the things that young hitters, you want to make sure you get good pitches. Learn to recognize spin, velocity, and then have the confidence to be ready and get your bat going when you need to.
Sure. And going back to what you said about Greg and talking about the result of the hit, that was one thing that they were talking about Greg. The commentators on there were saying that he had one of the highest line drive percentages in the league, but his batting average wasn't as high as it should have been, and his I think his average for balls in play shot up really high. So he's putting the ball in play, and they were just saying, he has the highest line drive average. He just happens to be hitting the ball line drives right at people. And then as soon as he hit that home run, again, they followed up and said, here he is again with another line drive home run. So they're constantly talking about the line drives and exit velocity and just the angle. I mean, I'm not a huge guy on launch angle stuff, but just the angle of when the ball comes off the bat, at a line drive angle, that's what we're trying to create, and backspin and things like that. So that is an example of what it looks like and Greg has been with DSA since we were, I don't know, I've watched him grow up for the longest time. He was probably 7, 6, 5. I don't know.
He came to DSA at maybe 13.
14. But he's been with you for a long time. That's just an example of surrounding yourself with the right people. That was something I wanted to touch on earlier too, was, the right people, making sure you're around talking about your reps and things like that. Make sure the people that you're around are giving you the proper way of doing things, and they're there for the right reasons. And those are all important things. And that's just an example of what it looks like, of the reason, why we do things, why others should do things. And that's just a good example of what it looks like here at DSA. So.
I started working with Greg when he was 8 years old, and he had a ton of natural ability even at 8. And that ball that you saw him hit here, his very first legitimate home run, he was 9, I think. Went out to the same part of the field. the same to right center. He drove a ball out to right center. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And I was proud of him because that was the type of work that we were putting in at the time. Getting him to focus on staying inside the contact, getting his hands in a proper position, his sequencing, body sequencing in his swing to try to maximize his swing acceleration, his balance, and then that energy that gets produced from the ground up. Mm-hmm. Because he's in a good position with his feet, mm-hmm. he's using his legs, and he gets a proper core rotation. All that energy translates out into the barrel of the bat and to the contact with the ball.
Right.
Those are the things that we try to get kids to understand, hitters to understand as to why you need. This is why you need to do this, because this is the result we're trying to get to. And to put real numbers to Greg's performance in the USPBL, at one point he's got his average now up around 250.
Yeah.
Okay. For much of the season, he was below 200 in his overall batting average. His on-base percentage was really high mm-hmm. because he was getting a lot of walks. Mm-hmm. His patience, right, mm-hmm. wasn't swinging at bad pitches. His batting average on balls put in play, even though it was under 200 overall, on the balls that he actually put in play, he was over 300.
Yes, that's what they were saying. Yeah.
And so the difference came in early in the season, he had some swings and misses. So he had strikeouts. Mm-hmm. Well, his strikeout to walk average was just about 50-50. As many times he was walking, as many times he was striking out. Mm-hmm. As the season progressed and he started to get more rhythm with what he was doing and getting more comfortable with the pitchers and what their pitches looked like, his contact started to go up. Well, he was always hitting the ball hard. Mm-hmm. And so now some of those outs have turned into hits. Mm-hmm. And we talked about that throughout the season, is having patience with his process, trusting what he was doing, that it could bring a good result, and not try to make too many changes to try to deliver hits. Stay within himself, stay in his process, and then trust that it's going to turn around. And that's big in baseball.
Sure.
That you have to have the at-bats, you have to have the repetitions to watch that turnaround happen.
Yep.
And why baseball statistics are centered around averages, okay? Because you're going to see a lot of failure. There's a lot of failure. Mm-hmm. We talked about, you can hit a ball 100 miles an hour mm-hmm. and end up 0 for 1 mm-hmm. because it found a glove mm-hmm. and the defender turned it into an out.
Right.
You don't control those things. So you have to trust that if I'm hitting the ball hard, I just need to keep doing what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And that over time, those outs, some of them, hopefully a good number of them, will turn into hits.
Sure.
And that's what's happened for Greg over the course of his season.
Mm-hmm. And that's a huge thing when it comes to your mental side of the things. When things aren't happening for you, you got to still believe and still say, hey, and trust in your abilities, trust in the things that you've been taught by your trainers and things like that to keep going. And that's a good example of what Greg has done. Because, even throughout his whole life, it wasn't like, even though he's in independent ball now, it's been a long journey for mm-hmm. Greg, it wasn't as easy as a lot of people might think. He's went through his high school times. He went to junior college, and he moved on to New York, and doing that is a huge thing. And then he moved on, and during that time there was a little break, and he finally got his opportunity to keep going. One thing that was really nice is that being with us, it gave him the opportunity to keep working, mm-hmm. to get that extra work in, because especially with you don't know what's going to happen. Talking about the things you can control. This whole Corona thing took a really big hit for baseball. Mm-hmm. The minor leagues aren't playing, things mm-hmm. like that. So mm-hmm. those are things that we really emphasize when it comes to talking about putting in the extra work, making sure you're around the right people. And it gives him the opportunity to be where he's at now. And now it's leading him to home runs and having great at bats and, people seeing him and doing things like that, which is obviously everyone's most important, their goal, their dream.
Goal.
Yeah, that's the goal. So it's really nice to see the struggle and the grind that he's going through. And it's a really good example for a lot of the athletes that will be coming through through our program.
Well, and that grind is a perfect example. Hey, Alvin.
Hey, Alvin. Take yourself off mute.
That would be good, right? That's like taking a donut off the bat, right, John?
Yeah.
You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. It's good.
Thanks for joining us, Alvin.
Yeah, you guys look great, man.
You look good.
You look good. Look really good. Anyway, you guys had a full thought going there.
Yeah. Two things, Alvin. I know you saw the video, that Greg's at bat video. So,
yes.
So give us a couple minutes of your impression of that at bat. Okay. And then the other thing, I know we didn't touch on it during our discussion, but you brought up the topic of MLB, some of the teams making to the playoffs for the first time, some of the significant things that are happening at the major league level.
Okay.
And take a couple minutes to speak on that.
And you know the flow.
What's up, Alvin? How's your day been? Long day?
Great. It's going great, Jonathan. I want to apologize to Davis Sports Academy Nation for getting on and joining late. I should have been there from the beginning.
It's okay.
But, hey, one rolls through your legs every once in a while, right? Everybody needs one every once in a while. Good to be with you guys.
God bless you for coming on with us.
Appreciate that, Jonathan. Yeah, you guys were talking earlier about Gregory Vaughn's at bat, and just looking at that video, man, what a great at bat that was, and I know you made reference to that. There's so many things for young hitters, for all hitters, I think, to take away, from that at bat, and I just as I replay it in my mind, the first thing that jumps out at me is pitch one is a front door breaking ball. That's probably a borderline strike, right? And so, it comes in, it looks like it's on the wrong side of the plate from where the catcher was set up, and not caught really well. Maybe catches the front edge of the plate. It's kind of hard to see with the angle and everything. But here's my point. As a hitter, one of the things that I like, that Gregory stayed in the at-bat, right? So, you can see the little pause there like, man, was that really a strike? But then, he's 0-1 and he gets right back into his mental approach to the at-bat. He doesn't get distracted, getting into a little beef with the umpire or whatever. And just, for all of our hitters out there, but especially the young hitters, that's one pitch in an at-bat. You have to develop that mental skill, and you mentioned it earlier, Jonathan, of staying in the at-bat and getting to the next pitch. And Gregory does that. And so then, then he gets down 0-2, right? And he continues to make his adjustment. Pitch two, maybe a little bit of a good pitch for Greg to drive, to his strength, as you mentioned, Bill. Mel hitting the ball to the opposite field, getting his arms away from his body because he's a big frame, strong guy, right? And he was a little late on that, but he makes his adjustment. And then what I really like, it's easy to go to the result and look at it as a positive at bat, but what we always talk about at DSA and with the Mariners is the process, right? How did you get there? And 0-2, you're going to see chase pitches. You're going to see pitches on the edges. You're going to see pitches that start in the zone that ends up out of the zone because that pitcher is trying to either get the strikeout or he's trying to get the weak contact. So it's very, very rare, 0-2, that you're going to see a cookie in the middle of the plate. It happens, but it's very, very rare. And I don't know that from a development standpoint, those types of at-bats where you get a 0-2, 1-2 cookie that you bang help you in your development as much as the type of at-bat that we're watching with Gregory, where he has to lay off of those pitches, trust his eyes, trust his two-strike adjustment, and then get himself back into an account where the pitcher has to throw the ball over the plate. You know, just keeping in mind as hitters some of the cardinal rules that pitchers work off of. They want to get ahead, right? Everything swings in their favor, 0-1 versus 1-0. Just go look at the numbers at any level. It's like a 200-point swing on batting average and 150 or 200-point swing on slugging. The difference between 0-1 and 1-0. And then, of course, when it comes to controlling, you know, run differential, which is the pitcher's job, right? He's the quarterback. He's the guy who starts with the ball. His job is to limit traffic on bases. So now when you get to a 3-2 count, as a hitter, you have to realize, hey, the likelihood, the probability that he's going to throw something on the plate goes way up, especially with nobody on base. Now, we could get all complicated, and it's really probably not that complex. You know, if you got runners on second and third and one out and the guy's trying to prevent a run and he's got a base open, he might throw you another chase pitch. But with nobody on and he's trying to control that inning and not have it turn into a crooked number by putting a guy on and giving a free base, he's probably going to throw the ball over the plate. And then as we saw, Gregory executes the swing. He doesn't try to do too much. Stays in the center of the baseball field, takes a nice, short, balanced, compact swing, barrels it up, and then with his God-given ability, that ball's going over the wall. So just so many lessons for a hitter to learn from one at bat. You know, if Greg gets to 3-2 and now he starts to kind of get, the dog comes out in him, so to speak, and he starts to salivate, and I'm going to hit this ball 500 feet. It's probably an F7 or an F8. But he stays nice and short. He stays in the at bat. He gets a good pitch and he executes a nice, crisp baseball swing, barrels it, extended, leverage, everything that we talk about at DSA, right? What the swing should look like. And that ball is driven out to right center field. High line drive.
And what I think he did really well was, like he said, he handled the pitch that he was supposed to get. Because if he would have fouled that one off, or if it would have, maybe if he would have got a little bit underneath it and fouled it straight back, or whatever the case is, he probably wouldn't have saw another fastball. Or maybe he might have, but it wouldn't have been that, the one, So the good thing is that he battled all the way back, and he stayed focused, and he handled the pitch that he was supposed to handle. He didn't miss it. He got exact barrel on it, and that's what you're supposed to do as the hitter. So that's an important thing too, because if it could have been a whole different turnout if he didn't get a hold of that ball.
Yeah, definitely. Bill and I talk, and Jonathan, you and I talked some too, just how important it is to put the ball in play. I know you guys were talking about BABIP earlier, and that's just one of those statistics that helps tell the whole story and provide context as far as the quality of contact that a hitter is actually making, rather than, the traditional statistics that still have value, but they don't necessarily tell the whole story. And now you mentioned earlier, a hitter can go up, he can execute his process 4 or 5 times in a night, hit 4 or 5 balls on the button and end up 0 for 4. Or he can go up there and he can get sawed off, he can be early, he can be late, he can hit the ball off the end of the bat, he can roll over a ball right down the middle of the plate and find a 4-hole, a 6-hole, 4 or 5 hopper up the middle where the players are not playing, ball deflects off the pitcher, a swinging bunt. And so if you look at the box score the next day, he's 3 for 4. You think, oh, wow, he had a really good night. Well, I guarantee you, in the long run, like even over the course of a week, hitter A should feel a lot better about where he is and his at-bats than hitter B. Hitter B should be sitting there going, I got lucky. And that old saying, I would rather be good than lucky. I know it usually comes out the opposite, but hey, we're talking about being productive hitters for a long period of time at any level.
Yep.
You would rather be good than lucky.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Greg has put in a ton of work, and so if you don't have passion, that's the other element of what we're talking about with skills development and competition, athletic competition. You have to have passion for the sport that you play.
Sure.
Because there is a lot of disappointment that's attached to athletics and higher level athletics. If you don't have passion for the game, for the work, and what it takes to develop and be good, you're going to fall off.
Yep.
You're going to find another activity, something else to do, because you're not enjoying yourself.
Yep.
In this activity called baseball.
Having fun.
Greg has that passion. It's one of the things that we are really big on at DSA with skills development with our youth players is and why fun is important. Because if you're having fun at something, you're going to develop a passion for it. You're going to want to come back and do it again and again. And the practice and the work that it takes to get proficient and then really good, you have to have that passion has to be there.
Yep.
The work cannot be drudgery.
Yep.
That 10, 15 minutes of extra work or an hour or whatever time you're putting in for it as you go along, those times do get longer.
Yep.
There's more time spent because the higher levels you go, the more difficult it gets. You have to put in more work. You have to have passion for the sport.
Yep.
You have to love what you're doing in order to endure the negative things that come with it.
100%. Because there's going to be times when you wake up and you don't want to go work out, or you don't want to go throw the baseball, or you don't want to swing a bat, or you just want to lay there.
Yeah, you don't want to run and condition.
Yep.
Because it hurts. Your body's hurting.
Yep.
It's making you feel sick. Those things, you have to be able to push through those things.
Yep. And
if you love what you're doing, you will push through.
Yeah. And that a good example, you're taking me back to one of our girls, Aubrey. Her mom came up to us and said, at first, when she first was coming, it was tough for her. It was hard for her to feel the love for what was going on because she was a beginner, and it's tough to do that. But now she comes and she loves to come, and she's making tremendous improvements. And just I think really it has to do with that, having the passion for it and wanting to get better. It requires those things in order for you to get better in baseball, softball, or anything in life. I mean, there's no point to keep trying for something if you don't like what you're doing.
Right.
So. And usually when you like it, it usually comes a lot easier and faster. And so, yeah, you're 100% right. Having the passion for things is a huge thing. And I think that's why we always question and always make sure that our kids are having fun when they're in the facility. It's at least one of the questions I love to ask is because as soon as they're not having fun, then there's something we got to make sure we're fixing or adjusting to make sure they're still engaged, liking to come, and things like that. And those are all important from the kid aspect up to the parent aspect. And it creates good relationships between everybody in the whole full circle, us as the facility, the parents with their athletes, and us with the athletes, us with the parents, and things like that. So
the phrase that I love to hear from the kids when we're training and we're getting to the end of a training session is one more. Give me one more.
Yep.
Let me do it again.
Yep.
If they don't get it right on that one more, give me one more. They want to leave on a positive note, knowing that, okay, my last swing of the day was a good one.
Yep.
Right? Or my best one. But if they're looking at the clock, hoping and watching to see when the session is over, and then they're ready to go, as soon as the session is over, they're ready to pack it up and leave, then you know that hasn't been a good day.
Yeah.
If they, especially the kids. The parents might have a schedule that they have to keep, so it might be necessary to shut down right on time, right? But when the kid wants to do that, then you know you haven't had a good day, or they haven't had a good day, and they're ready to shut it down.
Yeah.
It becomes counterproductive at that point to try to push them past the point of one more, right? When they say they're ready to be done, probably the right thing to do in a particular session.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
But you want kids to give me one more. I want to keep going and push the limits of their time, of their training session. So because they're getting more work, they're starting to feel what they're doing, and they want to continue to do it. So Alvin, let's thank you for the feedback.
Yeah,
it's
really good.
It's great to get your perspective from a hitter, from a hitter's hitter that I know is your reputation from your professional career. I don't think anybody did it very much better than you did during your years in the big leagues. But let's talk about some of the current events with the MLB. We're coming on the playoffs. We have a different season this year.
Go A's.
Because of the pandemic. And let's talk about where they are now and what we have to look forward to with the playoffs looming.
Yeah, definitely. When we were setting up today's podcast, the Padres had just clinched that day. And, first time in the postseason for them for 14 seasons. It's been 14 seasons since they've been in the postseason. And, so we're going to have some different flares to the postseason this year. And it's not just the structure, for all of the baseball fans out there, we know we're playing these games after the first round, after the wild card round, they'll be played at neutral sites. And so, similar to like a little March Madness in there, if you will, to borrow from sport, where you don't necessarily have the home field advantage. The American League Championship Series is going to be played in the National League Park. The National League Championship Series is going to be played in American League parks.
That's cool.
And the World Series of Globe Life. All of that, to protect the players. And, as fans, I think this year we should all suspend our preferences and just be really, really glad that we're going to have some postseason baseball. Because let's just remember, 6 months ago, it wasn't looking good at all. And if our viewers are like me, just having games on TV to watch, it's weird. They've got the piped in stadium noise and the cardboard cutouts, but it seems like the players have adjusted. And we've seen high quality baseball day in and day out, regardless of what game you're watching. And I think from the players' standpoint, probably when MLB announced the expanded playoffs, that there were going to be 8 teams from each league, I think that added another level of sense of urgency. And I think we've seen more playoff intensity, given the context, than we might have seen if we were at the end of a normal 162-game season, where you would have had probably the last 8 weeks of the season, right from the trade deadline. Some teams that are just like, hey, this is not our year. We're going to start to work on our offseason program now, whatever that might be. Bringing in prospects or trying to adjust salary, whatever. We're all fans. We know that happens every year. But to see a team like the Padres be significant bringers in of talent, they call them buyers. I don't know if I like that, but at the trade deadline, and we made significant deals, we being the Mariners, with the Padres, got some excellent talent in return. But, when you work with the guys, as you guys know, the guys or the gals, you do build a relationship with them. You have a fondness for them. And so for me, to see a Dan Altavilla, who we drafted back in 2014, I believe, I know he's going to the postseason. Austin Nola, a guy we only had for a little bit over a year, but Austin is just one of those. He's a player's player. He's just one of those guys that you build a good feeling and relationship with right away. You guys were talking.
Cool.
We were talking earlier about work ethic, right? Austin, work ethic is off the charts. Off the charts. When he came over to us, he was still learning to catch. and wanting to catch as much as he possibly could, but at the same time working on his offense. So there were times when I visited Tacoma, I get to the ballpark usually 1 o'clock in the afternoon for a 7:05 game. And Austin Nola's already there because he knows he's got to catch sides, and he wants to catch sides because he's developing as a catcher. He wants to build that relationship with his pitching staff by serving them for all of our young catchers out there. And at the same time, he knows he's got to hit. Right? Because one of the oldest axioms in baseball that I've heard a lot this year, because a lot of teams are in this development resurgence phase, is if you hit, they'll find a place for you to play.
Yep.
And so that's why we get hitting lessons, right? It's hard to do.
Yep.
But if you figure it out and you can hit really, really well, and you can handle whatever's thrown at you and put up a competitive at bat, they find a place for you to play. You can do damage, man. Now you are a valuable player for every organization.
Alvin, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Mel, just so much to look forward to. It's here we are. We have 4 games left, right? The Mariners have 5 games, including today, and it's not all settled yet. It could go down to the wire for some of those second place finishes or that 7th or 8th wild card in both leagues.
Yep.
And for those of us that are fans of the sport, this is what we want. We want these last games of last week to mean something to a lot of teams. It's good for the sport.
And I think what I was going to add to it, my thoughts about expanded playoffs and even the shortened season. I've watched as much baseball as I can in the time that we've had, right? With the abbreviated season. I'm seeing a lot of really good young players who I may not have had an opportunity to watch and see play meaningful games. But because things are shortened and there's more teams with high hopes, right? And playing to those high hopes, you're getting to see a lot more talent and how deep the talent pool is in Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball used to be, I'm going to call it a veteran's game, if you will, an old man's game, that you had to pay your dues in the minor leagues and grind it out until you were 24, 25, 26 years old before you got to the big leagues, because the older established guys were keeping the jobs. Well, that paradigm has shifted that I can see in the big leagues, and it's a young man's game now. They're bringing young players into the league much sooner than they used to. They're capable. They're performing well, and we used to know all the names, right? You could, if you picked a roster, you could pretty much name everybody that was important or starter on a team. Now,
and we could do all the stances too, man. I mean,
that's right. That's right. And the pitching windups, right? Whatever it was, we could emulate. But that's different now because the players are younger, and I think the expanded playoff format has allowed those teams that have been in that development process to get their teams into a better position, I think, more than any time before. Because like you said, at this time of the year, we probably would be paying attention to 8 teams. Now with the expanded at this time of year, we're paying attention to 16 teams or more. Because like you said, all those spots aren't decided yet. There's still teams that are in the hunt for those final couple of spots, which I think is exciting. And so using the Mariners, our club as an example, our organization as an example, in the hunt again, we've been close before, we're close again, but we're getting to see our players develop. They are getting to play meaningful games in September where before that may not have happened. There are other teams. Cincinnati comes to mind with a young group that are playing well. The White Sox and the Padres are really, they've been in their process, their development process, and rebuilding their team and their roster, where they've got it to the point now where they're really competitive. They're not only in the conversation to make the playoffs, they're in the conversation to win the whole thing. And I think that's exciting. And we're close.
Yeah, Bill, I think also it plays into what DSA is all about, Davis Sports Academy. And even going back to us breaking down Gregory's video and you guys just talking about the type of coaching and development that Gregory has had. And I understand Greg's had more coaches than just DSA. And that's a good thing too, because players, you can learn something from everybody that you play for. And, or you get trained by it. And that's, you just want, that's a part of your development. And having that attitude as a player that, you know what, this coach can teach me something. So let me have my eyes and my ears and my heart open to be able to receive whatever this coach has for me. But my point is that, through Davis Sports Academy, you're going to get advanced training. You're going to hear, lessons and be taught on things like mental skills, like we're talking about before. Staying in an at-bat mentally. Being a competitor wherever you are on the field. And the reason I say all of that, Mel, because you make a great point. At this stage of the game, in the history of the game is younger, and it's getting younger still. And the players that are able to take advantage of the opportunities that they are given are the ones that are advanced. And you make a great point also, Mel. That talent is a factor. It's Major League Baseball. These are the most talented baseball players on the face of the planet, anywhere from 19 years old to 40 years old. This is it. It's the best league on the planet. So talent does matter. But be able to bring all of that together and to compete at the highest level in a way that brings value every day or every opportunity if you're a pitcher. When the manager calls on you, when he writes your name on the lineup card, he gives you the ball to start a game, or he summons you from the bullpen, that he knows he's going to get a world-class performance. Now, does that always mean you're going to get the results? No. We're not talking out of both sides of our mouth. There's a human element. Some days just are not your day. But that consistent approach that comes from being advanced in your development, especially the mental part of it, is, I can guarantee you, we know Dusty Baker really, I know that's what Dusty Baker is looking for in his young players. That he knows what he's going to get. He knows he's going to get a young hitter, for example, that can stay in an at-bat, the entire at-bat, even if he goes down 0-1 on a pitch that was obviously a ball. The flip side of that coin, all 30 managers, if they have a young player that at-bat's over and they see that, obviously they address it. You got to stay at the at-bat. That 0-1 is not zero slugging percentage. It's not zero batting average. It's not zero RBIs. A lot of good things can still happen after 0-1. But what I need you to get to in your development is to where you can stay in that at-bat, stay competitive, stay within yourself, stay within your funnel or your mental program, your mental process throughout the entire at-bat. Because regardless of your age or what year you were born, that's going to increase your probability of success. And man, we haven't even really scratched the surface of within a team environment, what a lift that is for a team.
Oh, yeah.
When your teammates see you up there grinding, when they see you up there staying locked in, whether it's at bat, whether it's on the mound, or whether it's in the field and one just went through the legs, or one just rolled up the wrist, and they see you out there with the great competitive body language, like I'm going to get this next one. I'm going to attack this next ground ball, this next fly ball. I just got thrown out trying to steal second base. Next time I get out, I'm going to attack. Versus the head down, the shoulders slumped, or the other motions, anger. You know what? And Bill, you managed a lot of clubs. Jonathan, you played on a lot of clubs. You're looking at your pitcher, and he gone. She gone.
Mm-hmm.
They're angry, and they don't know how to get back.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you...
Yes.
Especially when you start 0-2 and you come back and take someone deep.
Yes. Or you have somebody 0-2 and you hang that slider.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. If you start them at 0-2 and you get taken deep off of, that's a bummer.
Right. And that happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to happen. But as a manager, as an organization, when you're seeing a player and you're seeing where they're at in their development, where they're at in their career, if you sit there and go, you know what, that's not going to impact the next at bat. That's not going to impact the next time that slider gets called. And it's the right pitch.
Mm-hmm.
That player realizes, I made a mistake. That doesn't happen all the time. That's very rare.
Mm-hmm.
Next time that slider gets put down, boom, here comes my good slider.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that to try to hack in as for our young players into becoming that player who not only has ability, but a player that organizations, that managers can trust to give a world-class effort and performance.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with that. And I think we're pretty blessed to have both of you guys with us. And Greg's a really good example of just exactly what you're talking about, of what we can offer here, not only at DSA, but just with the people that we're surrounded with as well. I'm really blessed to have Greg be a part of our program and be a good example for the things that we're talking about here. Because it's one thing to talk about a lot of different things, but it's nice to have someone represent, what we're talking about and actually show the result side of things. Because at the end of the day, the result is really what matters. And I think it's a pretty big blessing to have the guru with us and Mr. Mariner to be involved. And then not only that, have some examples to show people, what we can bring to the table. So, with that being said, thank you so much, Alvin, for giving us your perspective. Always love to hear what you have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think today was a really great opportunity for listeners to kind of see what, the mindsets and perspectives of the things that it takes to be, at the level that it really takes. And, the example we shown today is only the bottom of the surface. Like you said, we still got a long ways to keep developing. And we look forward to seeing what our development can bring for our DSA athletes and trainers. And hopefully it'll bring a lot of great value to you guys.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. Good to be with you, Jonathan and Bill.
It's a pleasure,
good to
man.
be with you too, Alvin.
Yep, always a pleasure.
I'll see you this weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it, man.